Hello everyone, we are live at the Blue game and we are heading into the final Tribal Council. Our two winner contenders will be pleading their cases before their jury in hopes of becoming crowned the winner of Can You Survive? Blue game of Blood versus Water. And entering into the arena, the Tribal Council area, is Connor and Casey, our final two players left in the game.
Okay, and now we will bring in our jury. We have Caitlin, Anthony, Andy, Joe, Mel, Ethan, and Francis.
All right, our jury is settling in.
Okay, so first off, congratulations, Connor and Casey. Pretty much everyone here this weekend wants to be where you two are in this moment. So even though it could get intense, just make sure you take in the time to soak it in and be grateful for this moment. How this is going to work, you're not going to have opening statements. We are going to go directly to the jury, but you will have closing statements at the end to address anything that you feel like went unsaid. Okay? Jury, you will come over here. Is that okay? Lisa?
Yeah.
Camera-wise, to present your question to the final two, and we just ask that we keep it, in a timely manner. I don't particularly care the order. Does somebody would like to go first? Go for it, Mel.
Yeah, you're good, you're good.
Congratulations to you both. Could you tell us, each of you, tell us about a move that you feel like you directed primarily or that you were the most responsible for?
I can go first. So, one of the moves that I made was probably the first time that Caitlin played her idol and got Louie out. So, from what I understood, Anthony and Joe were making a play to get Louie out, and they were going around telling people that basically they had me in their pocket, and I knew they had me in their pocket, and they were trying to get me, Francis, and Melanie to vote for Louie, just kind of last minute, telling each of us that they already had the other two when they didn't have any of the three of us, from my perspective, because I heard from both of them that they were saying that they had me when I had never actually agreed to that plan. It almost worked. They were, they did convince me in the very beginning, but then I was able to cross-check with people, and I noticed that neither Francis nor Melanie actually wanted to vote for Louie. They all wanted to vote for Caitlin, and so did I, because I needed another couple out of the game, and I had a good relationship with Ethan, and if I could get Ethan's loved one out of the game, then he could now join the individual alliances. So when I noticed that neither of them wanted to, I looked at them and I said, we don't need to vote for Louie. Like, we're the deciding votes. If us three vote for Caitlin, then she goes, and then Ethan gets to stay. Or then Ethan gets to join the alliance. Caitlin had an idol that I had no idea about. She played her idol. Louie left. Hey, same plan. I pick up Connor, and now I just have Connor to join the alliance. And Caitlin's the next easy vote, and Ethan comes in. We had 4 people in the individual alliance now. That was a moment where I believe people were trying to make a move. I think Anthony and Joe were trying to make a move against Louie and Connor a little bit too early. I needed both of them in the game as physical threats ahead of me. So when I noticed that I could switch the votes with Melanie and Francis, I did that.
About 30 more seconds for this question.
And that is one of the proud moves that I have in this game. Kind of stopping what I saw as a poor move for my game, and instead creating a move that benefited my game.
I'm gonna have to say voting Andy back into the game was a big step into my biggest move. So bringing Andy back, I knew that Louie had a close relationship with her, and they were really bonding, and I know that I have a 99% chance I'm going to also get along with someone that Louis is aligned with. And I was working with Melanie, so I figured another number for me, that'd be great. So bringing Andy in was just another number, and I wanted to work with her. And then we can talk about the tribal where my name was on the chopping block. Like you mentioned, Joe and Anthony were going for Louis as well. I'm trying to flip the votes for the Caitlin vote. And so what I wanted to do was get Anthony out. So I was pitching to my 4 solid Anthony, because I knew he was, you know, gunning for Louis, probably going to be gunning for me next, and I needed him out of here. And I was able to really solidify that 4, and they weren't turning on me, and we were going to go to rocks. And I mean, I think that shows a lot for my social game, the fact that they were willing to put their neck on the line for me to go to rocks, and knowing I would be safe at that rock draw. But again, throughout that time bringing Andy back, we got very close. I looked over at her, I said, you already wrote my name down once, you don't have to do it again, Andy. And she didn't, and here I am.
Thank you both.
Mother-daughter tag team. My question is about your charities. Can each of you tell me about your charities and why it's important to you?
Okay. So the charity that I'm playing for is called Beacon. It's an organization in Bloomington called, it's an organization called Beacon, and it works with people who are experiencing homelessness and extreme poverty. I've been working with them for probably volunteering with them for probably 5 or 6 years now. And the reason I chose them is because I like knowing where all of the money is actually going. I know the executive director personally. I know literally where every single dollar is going whenever I make donations to them and whenever I'm volunteering with them. So Indiana is a very conservative state. But Bloomington is a very liberal city, and so what that means is a lot of the homeless population in all of Indiana tends to flock to Bloomington because that's the city with the most services. Far and away, Bloomington has the largest homeless population in all of Indiana, and that's because we actually reach out to help them. And that means we need every single dollar that we can possibly have. And so having the opportunity to come out here and raise money for a population that I'm working with directly, not just like on a large scale level, but on a micro level, which is how my brain works, is micro. That is why I chose them, and that's why it was important for me to make it this far and be able to raise as much money to help literally save lives.
I just want to start. Everyone's charity was incredible, and I love hearing about all of them. But Louis and I are playing for the It Gets Better Foundation. I'm going to try and not get choked up during this, but it's a foundation that supports LGBTQ youth in the country, and it really focuses on suicide prevention and helping kids that have gotten kicked out of their home, and that hits close for Louis and I for obvious reasons. We have both been through a lot through that process of coming out and really just accepting ourselves, and I know that this money is going to really just help out and pave a way for more to come and hopefully make it easier for the future youth.
Guys, congrats to both of you. My question is, I'll start just with Casey real quick. I know we have kind of a strong bond from the first second of the game with the three-legged race. So I guess just, with kind of your vote against me, which I respect, why should I vote for you to win?
So people, oftentimes in this game, I've noticed just traditionally, people are afraid of rock draws for some reason. I am not afraid of rock draws. I actually believe that rock draws are one of the most powerful mechanisms in the game to keep people that you want to keep in the game. Because if you create a rock draw scenario, if you're voting for the correct person, that person is now immune. We were originally going to vote for Joe that round. Joe was going up until like pretty much the last, not the last minute, but close to the last minute, when we decided to switch it to you. And we kind of had the excuse of like, oh, maybe they're going to play an idol. If they play an idol, it'll be on Joe, blah, blah, blah. But for me, the real reason, and I believe I was the one who actually agreed to voting your name because I had immunity that round, and so everyone was coming to me. And so I was thinking, if we are going to Rocks, because Frances said, I'm going to Rocks. I have no problem going to Rocks. Let's do it. And she said, Melanie's not going to Rocks. As long as I push Rocks, Melanie won't go and we're going to win the round. But in my head, I'm close with Melanie, and I'm saying, you're wrong. Melanie's going to Rocks. Like, if everyone here is willing to go to Rocks, I now need the votes on someone that I want to remain in the game. I was way closer to you than I was to Joe. I'd much rather have you come out of that than Joe, so I instead flipped it over to you, making Frances think that I was helping her because she was pushing for you to go. So all I had to do was say your name, and everyone was like, okay, let's do Anthony. And so from my perspective, I genuinely thought that was going to be a rock draw, and I was saving you with the rock draw. I had no idea that Andy was going to vote for you. That was honestly an accident. And so voting for you, I know it sounds weird in a convoluted way, but I voted for you to actually try to
totally
save
understand.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for that answer. And then Connor, same type of question. Why should I vote for you?
Similar, I mean, is if you want to talk about me voting you out directly or just in general?
Yeah, just in general.
In general?
Yeah.
I mean, I was on the right side of the vote every single tribal. I knew where the votes were going, every single tribal, even the tribal that was directed at me, I knew I was getting 4. And I needed to make sure that my 4 was staying strong, and they did. And then going forward, I kept that core 4 really strong, and I let each one know, Joe, Melanie, Ethan, I let them know that I was getting them out, essentially, and I played a great strategic and social game there by trying to give them a heads up before I get them out of the game.
Thanks. Thank you both.
Hi guys, really big congratulations. Thanks Prod for like a great game. It was so much fun. So my question for you is, can you guys both please close your eyes? Very traditional question. I want you to raise your hand if you think that this jury member is going to be voting for you tonight. Myself, Caitlin. Anthony. Andy. Joe. Melanie. Ethan. Frances. All right, you guys can open your eyes. I'm very torn. I don't think that really changed anything. So just keep pitching yourselves, because yeah, I'm confused. Actually.
Hello, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, I want each of you to point out, in your opinion, what was the worst part of each other's games.
I can go. I can start. I think his worst move there was bringing me to final 2. I think I played a really strong, strategic, physical, and social game, and that's what's got me here. So I think him being against me at the final 2 is a risky choice, and I'm hoping that I can win out with the votes with that win.
I think that Connor's worst move was relying on me so much to make it through the game, because there were multiple times where he was going. He was dead in the water, and the only reason he didn't go is because me and a couple others like Mel and Francis were able to like flip it and keep him in the game. Now granted, I did that so whenever he had immunity, he could watch my back, but I think he needed me in this game more than I needed him. And so him relying on me so much was his worst move in the game, knowing that he was going to go to the finals with me. I believe he was going to take me to the finals no matter what. We had a really tight deal, and I believe that he needed me in the game more than I needed him, and so that's the answer.
Okay, thank you guys.
Hey guys, congratulations. You guys played a great game. Let's start with Connor. Can you just explain, once Louis was voted out, how you had to pivot and what your strategy was moving forward to get yourself through the game?
Yeah, so the Louis vote out was upsetting, to say the least, especially directly after me feeding you and then hearing that John and Anthony were trying to go for Louis. So I was trying to really solidify my alliances. So I chose you and Andy for that, to solidify my alliances with Melanie and Anthony. But then I heard, even before those votes, that you guys were pitching Louis. And so using that, I knew he got out, but I didn't want Caitlin to go the following round. I honestly wanted one of you guys, but I knew I couldn't play an aggressive game at that point. So I aligned with Francis and Casey right away, and that was the three of us. Everyone else wanted to vote Caitlin. She just got Louis out, so I was like, great, we can get her out, no problem. And then going forward from that, it's really just a revenge game for me. I mean, we got Anthony. I mean, nothing against Andy put my name down once. You put, and then you obviously were the one commandeering Louis' vote out. She put my name down. He voted Louis out, and so like that was my game going forward, was getting out the people who got Louis out, and it was right in a row.
Perfect, thank you. Casey, I think it was mentioned in the last tribal, you two were working closely together from the beginning, and your games might be a little bit similar. You both lost your loved ones kind of around the same time. Can you differentiate your game from Connor's?
Yeah, so I actually believe that I was the one who started the alliance to begin with, because I was actually the first one to lose my loved one. I went into a group of 11 people, and I was the sole loved one, or sole only person, and everyone else had duos. And it would have been so easy for everyone to just say, hey, pop that guy, get him out of here, and let's just move forward with duos. So what I said was, okay, I need to start getting people to vote get their loved ones out and start getting a group of 4 together. He just happened to luck into, like, he wasn't even supposed to be there. I wanted him around as much as possible because he is a physical threat that shields me in this game. When I played in Surviving Realfoot, the reason I got voted out was because I was the biggest physical threat in the game. I know I'm a physical threat. That's an easy way to put a target on me. But if I can put him in front of me and let him take all of the arrows, I get to walk through, and then whenever I get down to the final couple rounds, then I can blast through those challenges. I used him, and then and I was trying to use Louis too, but he accidentally got out, so he just lucked into being in the alliance to a certain degree. I believe that I actually ran all of the votes that he's claiming to have run, and basically our games are different in that he would have been gone way early if I wasn't pushing to save him, and I believe that I would not have been gone way early if he had gone early. Like I believe I had enough social connections, enough people who were in conversations that I wasn't a part of, that no matter what happened, no matter what conversations were happening, someone always had my back. And to illustrate that, I only received 2 votes in this entire game, and that was from you and that was from Ethan at the very end, because there was basically no one else to vote for. So that tells me that there were conversations happening, and whenever my name came up, people said no.
Cool, thank you both.
All right, well, hello, 2 of my many final 2s. I'm sure y'all figured out by now, but I had about half a dozen final 2s, many final 3s, a couple final 4s. So I have like a 2-part question. The second part is like really short, I promise. But the first part, I want to know how many final 2s, final 3s you had, who was it, and what was your preference of all of those final 2s, final 3s configurations?
I had a final 2 with you, I had a final 2 with you, I had a final 2 with Anthony, Melanie, I had a final 4 with Ethan. I had a final 3 with Joe and Anthony, and by proxy with Melanie. I had the final 2 with Melanie. I had by proxy of a final 2 with Melanie. I had a final 3 with Andy. Caitlin, I'm sorry, we didn't really get to work together in the game. I was trying to work with Ethan.
And so what was your preference of those?
I wanted to work with Connor because of the shield. If Connor leaves the game, I'm following him out the door, because that once the precedent for physical players leaving the game is set, I am coming up very soon. So the longer Connor's in the game, the better I am. The better off I am, which is why whenever people were starting to target Connor and the votes were actually going to him, whenever it came to me, I was the one who said, no, we can't do Connor. We need to flip it to someone else, because I need, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I need Connor in the game as long as possible, because as soon as he's gone, I'm gone. After that, it was you, because we just got along socially extremely well. I saw the game that you were playing. I saw how good you were, and that's why I couldn't bring you to the finals. You played kind of, a little bit, from my perspective, a little bit quiet in the first half, but after your mom got voted out, you kicked it into high gear. And I was like, holy crap, this person's here to play. When we had conversations about going to Rocks, and you were so excited about doing it, I was like, all right, this is my person. I'm going to the final 2 with one of these 2, and as long as us 3 stick together and I have final 2 deals with both of them, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sitting there no matter what. After that, it was Ethan, because we needed a 4th person in our alliance of 4 who was really good at puzzles, because I know I won that last puzzle, but I suck at puzzles. So if we could handle the physical stuff, Ethan could handle the puzzle stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Same question?
Yep.
So I would say my conversations to Final 4, 3, and 2 didn't really happen until Louis got voted out, because I didn't know how that was going to shake out with him being involved. But when that did happen, once he did get voted out, I directly connected with Ethan. Well, I'm sorry, not Ethan directly. I connected with you 2 first, and said, we're on the outs right now. It's couples versus not. And I wanted to work with you guys going forward. So we created that final 3 right there. And then the next vote was Caitlin. And that's when, right after Caitlin's vote up, Ethan and I talked, and I said, now it's 4v4, 4 couples, 4 alones. So we should all 4 work together. And so that was my first final 4. And then from there, I made a few final 3s. It was you 2, you 3, and then it was you 3. And then from there, I made just 2 final 2s, you and you. And that's the only conversations I really had for final 2s, and I was feeling pretty confident in getting the final 4, 3, and 2, and here we are.
And then my follow-up question is real quick. I just want yes or no answer. I want brutal honesty, because you know that I appreciate being blunt, being honest. If you had won final immunity, would you have taken me or not?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So now we are moving forward to the closing statements. I'll give you just about, Brandon, how long should I give them?
For closing, like 2 minutes.
Okay. 2 minutes. I don't want to have to cut you off, so please try to be in a timely manner. Do either of you prefer to go first? Okay.
All right, so I came into this game with a ton of social anxiety. I know out here I seem like I'm quirky and I'm a little bit bubbly, and I throw my arms around and I laugh a lot, and I think we've been having fun. But in my normal life, I am not that way. I sit at home, I play video games, I watch anime, and I play with my cat. I don't go out, I don't hang out with people or anything. But my dream in this world is to win a Survivor game. I've been watching this show, dreaming of this since I was 7 years old. And I know that the best way to win this game is through social game. And in the past, I've played games and I've focused on strategy, I've focused on physical, but I've never focused on the social, and I've always lost. So I came into this game saying, I need to play a social game so I can open up strategic avenues that weren't available to me before. And so I came in here, but I didn't know how to do that. And so what I did is I reached out to my friend Hannah, who is one of the best social players I've ever met in my life. She is a freaking master. And I said, Hannah, how can I get better at the social game? And she said, Casey, go out there and make friends. If you can go out there and make friends, then they won't want to vote for you just like you won't want to vote for them. And that will open up strategic avenues in this game. So I came out here with one goal, and that was to make friends with people. And I believe that I accomplished that with a lot of you. I know that I had to backstab. We all lied to each other. I lied to a lot of you. But at a certain point, that I felt that it was necessary, and I don't think I told any unnecessary lies. And I hope that you all can see that my social game really did flourish this time. And I'm genuinely so proud of the game that I played. I don't know what else I could have done. And looking back when I was sitting up there, the only thing that I could think of was that seven-year-old Casey would be so proud of me. And if this was on TV, I think 7-year-old Casey would be looking up to me right now, and he would want to be me, to want to play like me. And I'm really proud of that. And that's my closing statement.
I want to thank everyone, everyone who's so great playing with these, but gotta get into it. I want to start by saying what you guys don't know about me is I was a 2-sport athlete in college, and I played semi-professional soccer in England. So I knew coming into this, I was potentially going to be a physical threat, and I did not need that on my back. And so while he thinks I'm his shield, we won the same amount of immunity challenges, so I needed him as a shield as well. So we had a really good conversation the first night, felt like we really connected, and he was on the outs of that first vote of Joel, and I wanted to bring him in. So I went up to him right before the vote, I said where we're going to Joel, and that's where I brought him in, and we've stayed together ever since. From there, we got Emma, and then he brought me into the competition that Louis wants, and the other tribe to tribal, and then from there Louis got out. I realized I'm playing my own game, and then if you look at the jury, I'm sorry, but you guys either voted Louis or me, all 6 of you, and so it was really a revenge game at this point, and I was really just trying to do what was, I'm sorry I'm talking so fast, I'm afraid this 2 minutes is going to come up, but I was really just trying to do what's best for me. So every move I was making, it was to get one of you guys out, because at that point I couldn't trust you. And I think also a big part of that was my social game, keeping everyone aligned, Andy getting me into this game, keeping me into this game. The 4 that I made here, what Casey also doesn't know is Ethan had a hidden immunity challenge. It was right after the spooky challenge. We had a really emotional and personal conversation up top, and right after that he shared that he had an idol. So I was really getting information from every corner, and but I was also, while I was doing that, I was making really strong connections with you, and those were super meaningful. And I think I also, especially for the last 3, I obviously didn't vote Francis out, but I let you guys know where my votes were going, because I wanted to play an honest game as well. And so I think strategically, physically with my 3 wins, and socially with just my connections I've made out here, I think that's why I'm the better player here, and should be bringing home the win.
Thank you so much. We are going swimmingly on time. So now it is time to vote, jury. As a reminder, you are voting for the person that you want to see win this game, not to vote somebody off. So when you get up there, just give a brief statement of why you want that person to win. Keep in mind the brief, don't be looking for idols because you guys were taking so long. But anyway, yeah. We can go to vote. Caitlin, I'll start off with you.
All right. And the 7 members of our jury will now be making a decision on who to vote for the win. As always, they are not allowed to talk while this is happening, so I'm going to step away up to the top of my usual hill, but this time with a very special guest. Hello. Here joining me is Kyle, the winner of Can You Survive Season 2, which was last year. So Kyle will be handing over his crown shortly, maybe splitting it in half to the blue game winner, half to the red game winner. But we're just going to chat about everything we've heard at that tribal council, and just kind of share our thoughts with you. As always, this is a great time for y'all to comment and ask us questions, and where did the other chair go that I had set here?
Sorry.
Okay. Hey, Sam, can you grab another chair? Yeah, because we're going to be sitting in for a while. Albie did warn us
yes.
that we should not set up the chairs until it was
Till it
almost
was
time.
time.
Yeah, but
Yes. But wow,
sorry.
what a final tribal council. Both players giving very, very strong speeches. I was actually very surprised to hear kind of the other side of things, because I have been watching a lot more of the red game and kind of following the blue as closely as I could to kind of get a full picture of everything. So I think two very different players from what they were talking about. Connor really leaning into the more loyal game, being a very straight shooter, talking about the relationships that he's built with people, and Casey really leaning more into the strategy of the games. I hope we've got our chairs.
Thank you. We're going to put it over here so we're not in the backdrop of a dumpster / RV camper. Thank you so much, Sam. All right, we're gonna tuck in. Oh, okay, and we're gonna not die, and it's gonna be great. So, okay.
So what were your initial thoughts when we...
I'm just sorry. I'm bleeding in, and it's okay. All right.
Beautiful.
What were my initial thoughts? You know, it's so wild because, like for me, you know, it was interesting listening to their kind of pitches, and I'm like so torn on who I think is going to pull it out, because I feel like Casey really kind of was doing a great job of articulating his game throughout the question and answer portion.
Oh, for sure.
And then Connor, like, as soon as closing statements happened, he turned and like faced the jury and then just like became almost a different player and really was like, bam, 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 this is like my game and everything that was happening. And like, by the way, I knew all this like inside intel and like, here's what's going on. So it was just like, he turned it on at the end and kind of like finished strong. Whereas I felt like Casey started stronger. So that was like really cool to see.
Kind of amped up. So something I thought was very interesting was the moves they claimed that would be their biggest move of the game. So something that Casey talked about was that tie vote that we saw, where it was 4-4 and they almost went to rocks, and we saw Casey flip on it. And I thought that was a very interesting move to claim as one of your own, because usually you see something saying, you know, I voted a certain way, but he was actually talking about how he was trying to save Anthony that vote instead of actually force a tie to get him out or get somebody to flip. So he thought by voting for Anthony in that case, he was actually putting him in a good position. So that was interesting to claim that as your last like big move when it actually didn't work out and actually send it Anthony out the door.
Yeah, it was so cool. I've never heard that reasoning for a rock draw, which I guess sounds kind of silly, or at least if I have, I cannot remember it at this point. But I was like, oh my god, like that's so, it's like so wildly smart and like counterintuitive. Like it doesn't make sense in your brain why you would do that. So I love that like he completely explained his thought process on that, because it's something that would quite honestly never have occurred to me. I did think there might have been like a little blip there when he said that Andy switching her vote was an accident. Andy kind of had like a little bit of a reaction, and I looked over at her and she goes, no, it wasn't. Like, you know, so yeah, but I think it was, you know, more just, he probably didn't mean accident. I'm sure he meant it was just like a
He wasn't
unforeseen circumstance, which again, I think we can all relate to that, because I think all of us had the shock of our lives when
Andy flipped. Yes, that was a wild moment. But let's talk a little bit about Andy, because the biggest move for Connor, he claimed, was voting Andy back into the game, which I thought was very interesting, because usually we talk about voting out people from the game as a big move. He took it the other way, and he was like, voting Andy back in actually helped me. And the reason, because she was actually aligned with his partner in the game, Louis at the time, thinking about how that would be a number for him down the line. And if you think about it, this actually turned around and did help him out, because it was her vote that saved or worked out and flipped so that Anthony went out of the game when there was a tie.
Yeah, it was sorry, I got distracted. No, it was so cool, and I mean, it really did pay off for him a big way. And what I loved about that was he kind of started out by being like, oh, Andy will be a number, Andy will be a number, and it clearly just evolved into something so much beyond that. It evolved to relationship. Players often talk about how sometimes people are pawns in their game, and so to kind of almost approach it that way at the beginning and have it be transformative into an actual meaningful relationship that, you know, it's that bond, it's that person to person experience. And it really was that kind of like emotional connection that we saw really sway Andy into changing her vote away from the tie to send him home and to save him.
Absolutely. And it's going to be super interesting tonight to see how those relationships play into the final votes, because it can really impact or sway the way that you're voting if you're feeling like you were particularly close to somebody in the game where they've built a genuine connection. So separating that strategy piece from actually the connections that you've made in the game. So I'll be very interested to see if that weighs into, you know, how certain people vote, especially like Andy, who really valued that in the game.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Interesting that it's almost like a, I don't know, not that it's quality over quantity, because I think they obviously both had like super qualitative relationships. Obviously you can't make it to the end without them. But it was interesting to me how much more kind of like almost wheeling and dealing Casey was doing, making sure that he had inroads with literally everyone on that jury, with the exception of Caitlin, I think he said, right?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, because he was like, oh, I can't. Yeah, and so it's so fascinating to me the way that like sometimes when players do that, they're pegged as like someone with too many hands in a cookie jar, or like wheeling it, like, you know, just like you know, in too many alliances, and people start talking, and you know, sometimes like players that do that and they're like give themselves max options. It bites them because other players talk, realize it's happening, and then they end up not liking that and voting him out. So I feel like it's a huge testament to Casey that he was able to do that with 6 of the 7 jury members, as well as the guy sitting next to him in the final 2, and it never bit him. Granted, he did win a couple of, I guess, 3 immunities, at least individual ones. Okay. My brain is right. But you know, he wasn't like he was winning his way to the end or by any means, you know. It was, so that was just really cool to hear about that. You know, he made all those bonds and they stayed true, whereas Connor sounds like he made less kind of in-game bonds like that. But then again, also like the ones that he made, they really counted.
They were the ones that counted. They're the ones that got him there. Yeah, he definitely valued, you know, keeping his word, and so he made less alliances with people, and he said I was very straight up with how I was voting every tribal council. So it sounds like people knew where his vote was at every single tribal council. So it'll be interesting to see if people actually valued that when they're voting. Because sometimes you can leave a bitter taste in someone's mouth if you kind of blindside them. But if they knew that Connor was voting for him, maybe that, you know, influences how they felt about him when they left the game. A little bit of jury management, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. Although we did also hear Casey talk about how he felt like he didn't really lie unnecessarily, that he lied when he had to, but not. And I think it's funny, that goes to show just how parallel these 2 players' games were, since they were working together day one. And in fact, we had Caitlin's super unique question of wanting to gauge, you know, kind of the awareness level of the final 2 as to where the jury stood. And it was pretty funny because we saw both of them thinking they were getting a lot of the same people's votes. And obviously they can't both get a vote from one person. They cannot rip their parchment in half.
I think Connor raised his hand for everybody except for Francis.
Yeah, he was like, the hand stayed up, but he was like, yeah. What? Oh, we're already done? Oh, we're having so much fun.
So much more.
Damn it.
One last thing I want to mention. Oh, yeah. Casey's heartfelt speech.
We'll just like walk slow.
Yeah. He was so emotional in that closing statement. I really felt related, and I feel like a lot of people who love this game can relate to that feeling of, you know, your younger self watching you play this game. So I thought that was really impactful, and
absolutely,
I'm sure a lot of the jury members felt that as well.
Absolutely, yeah. It like almost made me want to cry, and I, you know, was just standing there holding the camera and avoiding portraits. So, yeah, but it was great. It was a great final travel. Like it was super great. I'm like super excited.
Yes.
All right, we will turn back and walk slightly faster to get back to it.
Casey and Connor, you both should be very proud of yourselves, and let's just give them a round of applause.
Woo!
No matter the final results of these votes, to play Survivor and to not get voted off is a huge accomplishment. So, the votes. Sure you want me to read them? However, we'll see you back here next summer for the votes. Just kidding, but you really do not get to find out now. We will be back for the vote reveal in a little bit.
All right, so we are pulling a survivor and kind of pretending like we will be reading the votes back in the studio. So you will have to stay tuned to see who wins. In the meantime, we're now going to have the red game come on in and have their own final tribal council. And then we will be doing a huge reveal where we will be crowning both winners at the exact same time. Well, not the exact same time, but you know, same stream. We can't say two names all at once. So thank you so much for joining us now. We will be announcing the time that the winners will be crowned so that you guys are notified of that and can be right by your phones or tablets or TVs or however you are watching this stream. How incredible. I cannot wait to find out who wins. I'm sure neither can you, but we just got to be a little bit patient. So we're going to hand it off to the red game for the final time, and then when we are back, it will be a blue and red joint vote reveal and winner crowning. So we are so excited. We will see y'all soon.